I was folding laundry when I overheard my husband whispering in his office. No, she has no idea. The Ilium file is already hidden. Once I get the rest, she won't see a dime. My blood turned cold. For 13 years, I thought we were a team. Partners. But in that one chilling moment, I realized I was the mark in someone else's con. What would you do if the person you trusted most was plotting to ruin you, and you only had days to stop it? Because that's exactly what happened to me. And I didn't just survive. I won. My name is Rachel Monroe. I'm 38, a novelist living in Portland. My life wasn't flashy, but it felt solid, predictable in a comforting way. I spent my mornings writing, my afternoons walking our dog Winston, and my evenings cooking with Daniel, my husband of 10 years. He worked in corporate logistics. He dressed in quiet grays, used big words, and always had his Bluetooth in. He wasn't warm, but he was reliable. Or so I thought. We'd never had children. Not by accident, by decision. We both wanted time, freedom, ambition. We talked about buying a cottage in the woods someday, traveling to Morocco, maybe Italy. We had dreams. At least, I did. But for months, I'd been noticing cracks. Daniel had always been private, but suddenly his phone never left his pocket. His laptop, once left out casually, was now password protected with military-level security. He started getting texts in the middle of the night, claiming it was Asia-Pacific operations. He began taking calls outside, even in the rain. And then the receipts. I'd find little slips from places we didn't go, bars on the east side, perfume stores, even a boutique hotel. He always had a calm explanation, a business meetup, a client gift, an overbooked conference. It didn't add up, but I swallowed it. I wanted to be the chill wife, the one who didn't nag, didn't pry. But deep down, my gut screamed something was wrong. Writers know how to listen to tension. We live in it. The tipping point came on a Thursday night. Daniel was late, again. I was in the study, supposedly editing my second novel, when I heard his voice through the cracked bedroom door. He thought I was asleep. He was on the phone, pacing, whispering. No, I've got the Ilium file on a flash drive. No trace. I'll bring it tomorrow. Rachel's still clueless. I froze. Ilium file? What even was that? And then, she's a writer. She sees what she wants to see. Don't worry. It wasn't just cheating. It was something deeper. Something calculated. I felt my stomach twist, then drop. My hands trembled as I stood in the dark hallway, invisible to him. In that moment, my marriage didn't just crack. It shattered. And I realized I wasn't living with a man I didn't know. I was living with a man who had deliberately made sure I wouldn't know him. A man building something behind my back. And I was going to find out what. The morning after I heard Daniel mention the Ilium file, I couldn't shake the nausea. My mind spun in circles, but my hands knew what to do. I opened my laptop, logged into our joint bank account, and began searching for answers. That's when I saw it. The balance was off. Almost $60,000. Gone. Not in one chunk, but over time. Withdrawn in patterns so subtle I wouldn't have noticed without digging. Small transfers, odd conversions, transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. This wasn't someone hiding a few shopping splurges. This was a systematic siphoning, a clean, calculated draining of our shared life. I checked our credit card statements next. There were charges made in cities Daniel hadn't visited, at least, not that I knew of. Spa packages, wine tastings, designer clothes from shops I'd never stepped foot in. My chest tightened. I felt like I was drowning in someone else's story, a twisted, alternate version of my life where I was the fool and Daniel the puppeteer. But it got worse. I dug through his email one night while he was in the shower. He had a private account linked to his work domain, something I'd never seen before. Password protected, but guessable. His mother's maiden name. What I found there made my hands go cold. Dozens of messages between him and someone named Eli Kane. The tone was familiar, conspiratorial. They talked about timelines, pulling the cord, and bleeding the asset dry before the second quarter. And then this line. Once the Ilium file's in place, the financial collapse will look organic. She'll be left with nothing but a few sympathy tweets and a rejected fraud claim. They were talking about me. I kept reading. Daniel had fabricated documents, loans in my name, fake tax filings, even a doctored digital signature on a wire transfer I never made. He was setting up a scenario where I would look like the one who embezzled money from our shared business account. There were even drafts of a separation agreement stating I'd voluntarily forfeited my claim to the condo. He planned to take everything, leave me penniless, discredited, and blamed. He wasn't just leaving me, he was preparing to destroy me. And worse, he wasn't doing it alone. I didn't know who Eli Kane was yet, but he, or she, wasn't just a partner. They were an architect of my erasure. That night, I sat in the dark with Winston asleep at my feet, a glass of untouched wine in my hand, and a folder full of screenshots saved on a USB drive. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to fight back. The moment I realized Daniel was setting me up to take the fall, I knew I couldn't panic. I couldn't scream, accuse, or confront. Not yet. That would only tip him off, and if I knew anything about Daniel, it was that he was always 10 steps ahead. Or at least, he thought he was. That's when I called Maya Chen, my best friend since college and now a fierce financial attorney with a reputation for making corporate sharks regret underestimating her. I hadn't told her much about the trouble before. Honestly, I didn't want anyone to know how broken my marriage was. But when I said, I need help, quiet help, she replied without missing a beat. Rachel, I'm on it. Give me 3 days. She meant business. I forwarded her every screenshot, every email, every document I'd quietly collected. The next morning, she flew in from Seattle and walked into my apartment with a briefcase and a fire in her eyes. First step? Move every asset I legally owned into a protected trust, one Daniel couldn't touch, not even with forged papers. My book royalties, my intellectual property, the condo deed, everything that had my name on it went into a secured shell. Second step. Shut down any joint accounts. We created a clean financial firewall between us, quietly, strategically. Maya even uncovered an offshore account Daniel had used to hide some of the stolen funds. She flagged it and logged the movement for future legal action. Third step. Build my own digital fortress. Maya had her firm's cybersecurity team scrub my devices, secure my online profiles, and encrypt my correspondence. No more casual browsing or forgotten passwords. Everything locked down. For 72 hours, we worked like ghosts. I slept in 2-hour shifts, ate granola bars and coffee, and barely spoke. Winston, my loyal spaniel, never left my side. And by the 4th morning, I was bulletproof. No fraud could stick to me. No asset could be accidentally signed away. Daniel's carefully laid trap had collapsed under the weight of my preparation. That's when he made his move. He walked in early, holding a slim manila folder like it was a gift. I think it's time we went our separate ways, he said smoothly. He looked triumphant, like a magician about to reveal the final act of a con he thought I hadn't seen coming. I looked him in the eye. Steady, calm, already done, I said. And then I smiled, not sweetly, but like a woman who had seen through the illusion. But you won't like how it ends. Daniel didn't just panic. He spiraled. The moment he realized the accounts were locked and the trust was airtight, he lost that corporate polish he wore like armor. His voice went sharp, fast. He tried charm, then threats. He demanded access, screamed about betrayal. "You're stealing what's mine," he shouted. "I didn't say much. I didn't have to. Every move I made had been legal. Every transfer, every document, reviewed and notarized. Maya saw to it personally." I just smiled and said, "You should have read the prenup before assuming I wouldn't." But Daniel didn't stop there. He wasn't used to losing. Within days, I was being dragged through digital mud. Anonymous Reddit threads popped up accusing me of ghostwriters, plagiarism, even exploiting my fans. A whistleblower email landed in my publisher's inbox, suggesting I'd embezzled funds from a non-existent non-profit project. Coordinated, vicious, desperate. Then came the real hit, a civil suit, filed by Daniel and someone named Eli Kane, his ghost partner in crime. They claimed I had forged business contracts, funneled joint earnings into fraudulent trusts, and had used Daniel's name to secure private advances from overseas publishers. They painted me as a literary con artist, quietly bleeding our life dry. It might have worked, if Maya hadn't anticipated every angle. 2 days before the court hearing, Maya's hired gun, a digital forensics analyst named Nora Whitfield, delivered the kill shot. She'd combed through both my devices and Daniel's cloud backups. What she found unraveled them completely. Every fake contract, created on Daniel's laptop. Every doctored file, modified under his user profile. Every forged signature, built using a vector tracing tool and a scanned copy of my driver's license, accessed from our shared Dropbox account. He hadn't just tried to frame me, he'd digitally manufactured evidence, right down to emails with timestamps set in the future. He forgot that metadata doesn't lie. When we presented our findings, the court didn't just dismiss the case. They froze his assets. A countersuit was filed immediately. Fraud, defamation, attempted identity theft. Daniel and Eli had tried to play with fire. But this wasn't a wild inferno. This was a controlled burn, calculated, precise, and devastating. They thought they were ruining me. What they didn't know was, I had already set the stage for their downfall. And the best part? I never raised my voice. I didn't need to. I had truth, timing, and a lawyer who played chess like war. The courtroom was ice cold, but Daniel looked like he was melting. He sat 2 rows ahead, shoulders hunched in a navy suit that once screamed confidence but now sagged like a costume on the wrong actor. The judge entered. The murmurs quieted. And the final act began. Our attorney didn't need theatrics. The evidence spoke louder than any monologue. Email threads that traced back months, Daniel instructing Eli to make sure the crash looks like her doing. Metadata logs proving the documents had been manipulated on Daniel's laptop at 2:14 a.m. while I was logged into a Zoom panel for an international book fair. Forensic reports showing how he had used a signature vector tool and even rehearsed forged versions of my name. Every detail, time-stamped, irrefutable, damning. And Eli Kane? He never appeared. Not once. No Zoom call. No legal rep. Just a name that crumbled under scrutiny. Maya whispered that he likely fled the country or never legally existed. A phantom accomplice Daniel used to shield himself, until the shield cracked. The judge took less than 15 minutes to reach a decision. Every one of Daniel's claims was dismissed with prejudice. The phrase hit like a hammer. The courtroom gasped when the judge added, "The plaintiff's actions demonstrate a premeditated attempt to manipulate the court, falsify evidence, and commit reputational harm. As such, all legal fees will be paid by Mr. Whitmore. Furthermore, the defendant retains full ownership of the marital property, and the plaintiff forfeits any remaining financial claims." Daniel blinked. Once. Twice. But he said nothing. His jaw clenched so tight I thought it might shatter. It was over. His credit decimated. His name tarnished. His plan blown wide open. After the hearing, People filtered out quietly. Some stared. Some whispered. The courtroom energy had shifted, from suspense to catharsis. And then he approached. "Rachel, please," he said softly, almost broken. "We can fix this. You and me. Let's just talk." He reached out, brushing my elbow like the touch might reel me back into his orbit. I didn't even stop walking. I didn't owe him anger. I didn't owe him closure. He had set the fire. He could live in the ashes. Outside, Maya was waiting with a smile that said, "Checkmate." I took a deep breath as the courthouse doors shut behind me. Freedom doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just walks away without looking back. 6 months later, life is calm in a way I never thought I'd crave. My mornings start with silence and strong coffee, not tension and pretense. I sit at my old oak desk, sunlight pooling across the floor, and write without looking over my shoulder. The novel I'm working on? It's fiction, technically. But anyone who knows will see the truth laced between the chapters. A story of a man who underestimated the wrong woman. Spoiler alert. He never stood a chance. I changed the names. I even gave him a more tragic ending than he deserved. But writing it's been therapy, inked one sentence at a time. I host small dinners now. Friends, laughter, no hidden motives. No games behind every word. Just warm food, warmer company, and genuine conversation. Some of them were the same people Daniel tried to turn against me. They came back, quietly, once the truth came out. Some apologized. Others didn't have to. I don't need a parade. I don't need him to grovel. What I have is far more satisfying. Peace. My finances are stable. My reputation is intact. I still get letters from readers who thank me for stories that help them leave the wrong person or find the right path. And that, to me, is everything. Because revenge, true revenge, isn't loud. It doesn't scream or destroy. It restores. And sometimes, all it takes is a little patience, and a mountain of well-documented evidence.